Today we're going to be talking about how to gear up fast and easy in the last season of the Dragonflight expansion. Season 4 is finally here. We have some huge dungeon changes which makes them much more valuable than in previous seasons. New gear vendors allowing us to buy all of our best in slot gear without having to bash our heads in a car door praying for that RNG. We've all been there. Running a raid week after week in hopes of a certain item to drop and it never does? Well, no more. Gear vendors are finally back. I'm going to go over many different ways you can get gear, how you can upgrade gear, everything you'll need to know about gearing in Season 4 of Dragonflight. There's a lot of people returning to the game for this season, and with that said, things can be very overwhelming if you don't know where to start. In this guide, I'm going to go over how to gear from 441 all the way up to 520 plus item level. Let's jump right into it. I'm going to go over all the different gear tracks and what item level range each gear track is. First we have Explorer track gear starting at 454 item level, upgradable to 476. Adventurer track starting at 467 item level, upgradable to 489, which is equal to Season 3 Mythic raid gear. Then we have Veteran track gear starting at 480 item level, upgradable to 502. Champion track starting at 493, upgradable to 515. Heroic track gear starting at 506, upgradable to 522. Mythic track gear starting at 519, upgradable to 528, and 535 for super rare items. Then we have the Awakened track, which I will talk to you guys more about at the end of the video. If you're below 450 item level, you can gain some fast gear by doing world content. World quests reward you with Explorer gear, and it is the easiest gear that you can get, as well as easily being upgradable with only flight stones. Something to note, the Awakened events and quests are rewarding 480 veteran gear. You can also get some champion gear by killing the world boss that's currently awakened. Just check your map and see which zone the boss is currently in, as well as which zone is awakened. You can also verify which boss is awakened by checking the dungeon journal, and it will have increased item level rewards. Normally world bosses only drop 415 item level gear, so it's definitely worth doing for a chance at some quick champion gear. And you also get one piece of guaranteed veteran gear from the cash that drops from the awakened world boss. The best rewards from world content come from the last hurrah quest, which you can pick up from the emissary guy next to the fountain in Valdrakken. If you're standing at the quest guy and he's not showing any quests available, then you need to abandon a quest called Aiding the Accord, then it will show up. This quest has you doing various world content, which you can get multiple pieces of veteran gear from. At the end of the quest, it will reward you with a piece of 493 champion gear from the cash reward. But most importantly, you will also get a full spark, which you'll need later to craft a piece of gear. There's lots of world content you can do to get gear, such as the Dream Surge events, which you can farm coalescence and buy Explorer gear with from the vendors. But I'm only going to go into details on the techniques I think are the fastest for gearing. If you have a bunch of coalescence saved up from Season 3, this can be a decent way to get a couple items quickly. If you don't like world content, you can get a spark by doing the PvP quest as well. PvP gear is another way you can gear up. You can buy PvP gear starting at 454 Explorer with Honor, 470 Adventurer gear with Bloody Tokens, and 489 Veteran gear with Bloody Tokens as well. And then you can buy 493 Champion gear with Conquest points. Just remember that you can still upgrade these PvP items, as well as their item levels will be higher in PvP combat. It's time to talk about gearing in dungeons in Season 4. Once you're at least 441 item level, I recommend spamming heroic dungeons to get some quick gear. There's really no point in running normal dungeons since you can join heroic starting at 441 item level and the gear rewards are significantly better. Heroic dungeons are quite a bit harder than in last season, but still fairly easy to do. Heroic dungeons are now dropping 476 Adventurer gear, which is a huge increase from Season 3. You also get Whelpling Crests from running Heroics, which you can then use to upgrade Adventurer gear and Veteran track gear. Just about every Heroic dungeon you run, you will get at least one piece of gear from. Not always, but sometimes you'll even get 2 items from one dungeon. When you're running Heroic, keep your eye out for people that get gear and do not need it. You can be aggressive with it and check their gear every time an item drops and see if they need it or not. And shoot them a whisper asking, hey, do you need that? But if it's a clear item level upgrade, don't bother asking them, that would just be plain rude. You have a chance at gear from each boss you kill in Heroic dungeons, unlike Mythic Keystones where you only have one chance from the chest at the end of the dungeon. You can join Heroic dungeons using the Group Finder tool and be in and out in less than 20 minutes per dungeon. You can easily get 2 to 3 pieces of 476 item level gear per hour from Heroic dungeons. Just from running Heroic dungeons, you can get up to 489 item level, which is Season 3 Mythic geared. You can run Mythic Zeros, which drop 493 Champion gear, but you will need to make or join a group in order to run a Mythic Zero or higher. You also get Drake Crests from running Mythic Zeros, which you can then use to upgrade Veteran and Champion track gear. You also get Heroic track gear in your vault at the end of the week for completing a Mythic Zero as well. But there's not a whole lot of options in terms of finding groups for Mythic Zeros. If you look through the pre-made groups, you'll notice there's not a lot of people running Mythic Zeros. Most people just jump straight into +2s and +3s since they're not much harder to complete. Once you're 480 plus, you should have no issue getting into Mythic Keystone dungeons ranging from +2 to +4, or maybe even higher depending on your class and experience. Do whatever you feel most comfortable with at this point, whether that's pushing Mythic Zeros or working your way up in Mythic Plus. Running a Mythic Plus Keystone dungeon on a +2 difficulty only rewards you with 493 item level gear, which is only 3 item levels higher than a Mythic Zero. So I recommend going straight to a +3, which drops 499 champion gear, and working your way up to +5, which drops 502 champion track gear. Heroic track gear becomes available in a +7 or higher, starting with item level 506 and upgradable all the way to 522 item level. You also get Worm Crests from running Mythic Keystone dungeons ranging between +2 and +5. Worm Crests are needed to upgrade champion track gear and heroic track gear. A +6 Keystone dungeon drops Aspect Crests, which are needed to upgrade heroic and mythic track gear. The upgrade system might sound confusing to anyone who's returning to the game after a long break or anyone that's new to the game. So I've made a spreadsheet that helps explain which crests are needed for which upgrades, what item level gear drops from what content, and some other helpful things I thought you guys might find useful. It will be posted in the description below, so feel free to take a look and make a copy of your own. It is important to try to complete the highest content that you can manage so you can get the best possible vault reward at the end of the week. If you want that sweet mythic track gear in your vault, you will need to complete a +8 Mythic Keystone dungeon or higher. Everything in Mythic Plus below a +8 will reward heroic and champion track gear in your vault at the end of the week. If you're up for a challenge, you can run Hard Mode Dawn of the Infinite, which drops 506 heroic gear, upgradable to 522 item level. This has been scaled up in difficulty from what it was in Season 3, so it's going to feel a bit harder than it was before, similar to an Awakened Heroic raid in current content. Let's talk about raids. Another great way to get some gear is by running raids. The raids this season are what they call Awakened. Each raid is on a weekly rotation, rotating between the 3 Dragonflight dungeons. When a raid is awakened, the bosses have more health and do more damage, but also reward better item level gear. I recommend running all wings of the current Awakened LFR raid. The item level requirement to join an Awakened LFR raid group by using the Looking for Raid tool is 463 item level. You have a chance of getting tier pieces, which is huge. LFR drops veteran gear, which can be upgraded to 502 item level. You can run a normal Awakened raid fairly easy as well. There are a lot of people making raids for this, as well as a lot of people queuing to the raids, meaning if you're having trouble getting invited to a raid higher than LFR, then just make your own group. I suggest being at least 475 plus before trying to make or join any normal Awakened raid. When making your own raid group, try to invite only players that are higher in item level than you, so you have better chances of getting gear. The more geared the raid is, the less likely people are going to roll on the gear that drops. Normal Awakened raids drop champion track gear and heroic track gear from the last boss. If you're a veteran player, then I definitely would recommend getting yourself into a heroic Awakened raid group and kill as many bosses as you can if you're looking to min-max your item level and your gear chances. If you're a casual player or you're new and just coming back, then don't worry about heroic until further into the season when you're more geared. It's very important to not waste your crests you get from running content. Be sure you're going to have that particular item for a while before dumping crests into it, since there's a weekly cap on crests. As the season goes on, this won't matter as much since the cap will get larger, and you'll eventually be able to farm as many crests as you want. You want to be careful when spending Worm and Aspect crests especially. Everything else you can kind of just spend on whatever you want and get some quick item level upgrades that will help you get into higher content. Let's talk about crafting gear. Crafting gear is an amazing and quick way to get some really high item level gear. You can craft gear without having to use an Awakened Spark up to 486 item level just by using Whelpling Crests. This can be a good way to fill in that certain slot that is lower than the rest of your gear and you can't seem to replace, since you can pick and choose which item you want to craft. But you can craft much higher item level gear using an Awakened Spark. You can craft a 502 item level baseline crafted piece just by using an Awakened Spark only, or you can make it even higher than item level by adding enchanted crests to your work order. You can buy 2 of the following enchanted crests to improve the item level of your crafted gear. The first is an enchanted Worm Crest. It costs 45 Worm Crests to buy and will get you up to 515 item level. Next is the enchanted Aspect Crest, which costs 60 Aspect Crests to buy and will get you up to 525 item level for your crafted items. I definitely recommend saving up to 60 Aspect Crests to be able to craft a 525 item level piece of crafted gear whenever you get to that point. I'm not going to go into super detail about how to craft gear, but you can check out my video I made called How to Craft Eye Level 502 to 525 Gear within a Spark of the Awakening on my channel here on YouTube. Next up is talking about gear vendors. We finally can choose our best in slot gear. You can find this gear vendor in the Bronze Enclave in Valdrakken. Once per week, you will acquire a Bronze Bullion from doing Mythic Plus dungeons or from Awakened raids. It costs 2 Bullions per item, which means you can buy 1 piece of gear every 2 weeks. These vendors sell weapons, trinkets, and rare items from all 3 Dragonflight raids, so make sure to go to Wowhead and find your best in slot gear when choosing an item. These items run on different gear track than the other items you're used to getting from raids and dungeons, the Awakened track. This is a 12-step upgrade track which starts at 493 and can be upgraded all the way to 528 item level and 535 item level for rare items. You can upgrade these items the same way as upgrading any other item using crests and flight stones. If you have a legendary weapon, you can also buy an item called Scale of the Awakening for 2 Bullions, which allows you to upgrade your legendary weapon to 502 item level and also allowing it to be further upgraded up to 535 item level. Once you have purchased your Scale of the Awakening, you will need crests and flight stones to further upgrade your legendary. If you don't have your legendary yet, you can still farm it by either killing Fyrak in the Emergisel raid for the 2-hander axe, or by killing Sarkaroth in the Abydos raid for the 1-hander evoker weapon. The drop chances still remain the same as they were in last season. The bad luck protection still exists as well for these items. Last but definitely not least, I'm going to talk about tier items. In the same room as the Bullion vendor, you can find another vendor that sells tier items for LFR, Normal, Heroic, and Mythic. In order to get the currency needed to purchase an item from these vendors, you will need to either kill the last boss in an Awakened Heroic raid, hit 2k rating in Mythic Plus, or also by earning Challenger achievement in ranked PvP. You can only purchase 1 item per vendor per source of token, meaning you can get 1 piece of tier from hitting 2k, another piece of tier by killing the last boss in an Awakened raid. There is also another way you can get tier this season as well, the Revival Catalyst. The Revival Catalyst is an amazing tool you can use to convert regular items into tier pieces. Once per week you get 1 charge of the Catalyst. You can then take a non-tier item and turn it into tier items by putting your item into the Catalyst. So basically you get 1 tier item per week. All you need is some gloves or a chest piece from a Mythic Plus or a raid, and you have yourself a piece of tier from the Catalyst. I'm going to go over a quick recap of what I think is the fastest way to level up. Starting at 441 item level, you want to spam Heroic Dungeons until you hit 470. Then you want to start running Mythic Plus, Mythic 3s, Mythic 4s, and in between you can run a raid, LFR, Normal, and Heroic if you can get into it. Basically, your best friend when you're first starting out is Heroic Dungeons, moving up to Mythic Plus, and doing your occasional world content quest to get those few pieces you need to upgrade. Also, crafted items is huge on getting your item level up, guys. Make sure you guys are crafting gear, even if it's 515, even if it's 502. Whatever it is, crafted gear is huge right now. But like I said, Heroic, Mythic Plus dungeons, crafted gear, world content, LFR, and normal raids, it's all big. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it very much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps. I'll see you guys next time in the next video. Cloudy Haze out.